In this lesson, I'd like to give you an introduction to figure drawing. Figure drawing is something that can greatly develop your drawing skills. We have this lady dancer in a beautiful dynamic pose. Let's make a sketch of her. When we draw a figure, the first thing we want to recognize is the pose of the figure. This figure can be built from a nice dynamic S-curve. This is also called the gesture. Gesture drawing is about to capture the subject and in the meantime express its motion. What is interesting in gesture drawing that the result will be a still image, but if it's done right, it will convey the whole movement of the figure the photo was taken about. To express a movement, you need to use loose, light strokes that have a certain momentum. Let me draw these curves that make the gesture. I mark the head, the rib cage, and the pelvis. Figure drawing will require some level of anatomical knowledge if you plan to dive into. Just as the portrait in a previous lesson, let's analyze this body posture. I'm marking the main angles that I will illustrate on my drawing. I also try to discover relationships between them. For example, if I extend the contour line of this upper leg, it will be tangent to the head. Also notice how the contours of these two legs converge to a single point somewhere here. The orientation of the lower legs is also important. I'm marking the key levels on the figure. The top of the chin, the bottom of the pelvis, the ground level, and the tip of the fingers. I will need to follow these proportions on my drawing. I also analyze these horizontal positions and their relationships to each other. We have several things we need to pay attention to, but we can make it step by step. Let's start from the top. I copy these guidelines one after the other. Try to copy their angles as accurately as possible. Compare them to imaginary vertical and horizontal lines, or to each other. You can also check these simple 2D shapes such as triangles and polygons, that these guidelines have created. I'm using very light strokes, but I start marking the contours gently where I feel confidence. The head is in a position like this. Now I mark the hand chin distance. Let's find the bottom of the pelvis. I'm using my pencil and my index finger to check distances and proportions. As I have the reference next to my drawing, I could easily project these levels horizontally. But if you have your reference somewhere else, you need to be able to create these proportions without horizontal projection. You can use simply your eyes to evaluate, but it's better to measure with the pencil. I continue with the leg. The knee should be located somewhere here. Let me jump to the pelvis. Look at these beautiful angles over here. The back and the chest seem almost parallel to each other. Let's go with the shoulder and the arm. I start drawing the hair. Let's create the contour line of the face. Here we have the ear, the hairline, our figure is slowly developing. I think I can emphasize these contours now. Let's form the leg. I'm erasing this gesture line because I find it distracting at this point. Let's draw the contour of the dress. You may realize that I'm jumping around. That's perfectly fine. Work on any area that gets your attention in a given moment. I have to note that I'm spending way more time on this drawing than a sketch would require. This level of accuracy is more than you need in a sketch, but I'd like to show you what's beyond sketching that you can call drawing, or at least the beginning of drawing. Let me erase these guidelines. I think the figure is pretty much done. Now I'm using my dyeing to paint the dress. And the hair. I further erase some unnecessary strokes. I add some darker contours. Final touches here and there. And here is Our Lady Dancer. I hope you have also managed to create a nice drawing.